Listen, this isn't some random creepy story. This is not a creepypasta. This is serious. Call me crazy or superstitious or whatever. I know what happened, and I wish I could forget. Okay, let me calm down and start from the beginning. First, my name is Carter, and I'm a pretty serious gamer. But after a recent event with a certain game, I think I might have to change my habits. It all started about 2 weeks ago. I had grew bored over the weekend and didn't feel like playing any of the games I owned, being that I beat them all, so I decided to mess around on my computer, trying to entertain myself. And just when I thought there was nothing to do, my friend John contacted me on Skype. He said that he found an emulation for Soul Calibur 2. He said he got it for me out of return for a favor. He knew I couldn't find it on any console I owned, and that was my favorite game of all time. I begged him to send me the file ASAP. Once the game started, it opened with its original intro cinematic. It showed all the characters, but Link for some reason. It seemed to have skipped his scene. I shrugged it off and skipped off to the start screen. The only thing seen that was different was that the announcer's voice didn't come and say Soul Calibur 2 as usual. Remembering that the game was emulated, I discarded the thought, figuring whoever had the game first must have cut those things out. Moving onward, I went to arcade mode and looked at the list of characters. As usual, they were all there. Taki, Nightmare, Yunsung, all of them, including Link. I hovered my cursor over each character, seeing their full forms just for fun. But once I got to the end and landed on Link, the game crashed. I groaned in disappointment. Damn game, I said to myself, starting it up again. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to use Link. He used to be one of the best in the game. Once I rebooted the game, it started to get a little glitchy. Now, the cinematic was playing really slowly. The music slowed with it and also started to warp. I ignored this and just skipped right to the menu. I again went to arcade mode and picked Ivy. The first match came up. Ivy versus Nightmare. I hit the X key on my keyboard. Like on the GameCube, doing this makes the character say a line like, "out of my way," or something. But when Ivy spoke, her voice was muffled almost. I tried to make out what she said, but couldn't. Once the match started, the announcer wasn't heard again. He didn't say anything about a warrior or some cheesy wisdom line, but the music again was slowed and warped. I found it a bit annoying, but proceeded on with the match. Once it started, I proceeded to deliver a healthy beatdown on Nightmare. Ivy's fighting was quick compared to his, and made him easy to beat. I celebrated a bit and moved on, excited to keep playing. I'll admit, everything was going great. I beat Taki, Talim, Necrid, and Cassandra. I was on a roll. Then the 6th match in a row started, and it looked like I was going to fight Link. But once the character's shadow came up, the game crashed before they loaded. But as it did, I looked over at Link. Just before the game went out, he seemed to have red eyes. I was unsure at first, being that it was just a short glimpse, but all the same, I started the game up just one more time. I went to versus mode this time. I figured I'll just do a quick fight before quitting. As I scrolled through the characters again, a strong feeling of concern came over me for some reason. I scrolled over to Link. I made sure to look closely at him before the game crashed once again. Again, I get just a glimpse of him just before the crash. It was then that I had an idea. I loaded the game up one last time and went to arcade mode. I hovered one finger over the print screen key before hovering over Link's picture. I quickly slammed the print screen key just before the game crashed. I went to Photoshop on my desktop and posted the screen cap. To my surprise, I had seen that I was right about Link having red eyes. I tried to adjust the quality of the image to better see it. Then, I see that everything about Link, but his eyes, were black. His clothes, skin, hat, sword, everything. But what got me worse was his position. Usually, the characters face to the left or right, depending on what side you were on and which player you were. But Link was looking right at me. To be honest, this freaked me out. I quickly deleted the image, thinking it was just my imagination. I looked at the time on my monitor. It was late. I hadn't noticed how tired I was till I gave a long yawn. I closed the game, shut down my computer, and went to bed. The next morning I awoke, thinking about Link from the game. I tried to recall the events of the game and figured that the night was getting to me. Link's shadow? That was a weird position. I logged back into Skype afterwards, finding my friend was still on. "Hey," I said to him. "Is the game working right for you? It won't start up for me." "Works just fine on my end, it's just that Link won't load," I told him. "Every time you try, the game crashes." "Weird. Where did you say you got the file from again?" It was in a file I found on this new computer I got." "Oh yeah, you did say you got a new one. Where from?" "This pawn shop. The asshole clerk said that it was clean, but then I found the game on it. Surprised it works for you." "Yeah, well, I guess that's all I wanted to know." "Okay then, see ya." "See you." We ended the talk there. I sat and thought about what he said. The game wasn't working for him? If it was on that computer, it should've. Dismissing the thought, I decided to play the game again. When I tried to open the game, a small window popped up saying, "You do not have enough disk space to run the program. Please clear out drive." That was odd. I didn't have this problem last night. I went through my computer to delete anything that I wasn't using. Of course, there wasn't much, but the same window kept popping up. Finally, I decided to check my pictures. I knew there was nothing in there to delete, but I checked anyway. "What the hell?" I said, seeing the pictures. They were screenshots of the game. Or, to be more specific, screenshots of Link. But again, it was the Link's shadow skin. Red eyes, black skin and attire, everything. There were at least 20 pictures. Some were the same. Link's shadow posing at the character select. The rest were of him attacking different characters in the game. Quickly, I deleted them all, but saved one to show my friend. When I went back on Skype to tell my friend, he wasn't on. He must have went to work. I stayed logged in and looked at the one picture I saved. It was like the screen cap I took last night. Link, looking dead at me. The picture's name was just a bunch of random letters and numbers. Just from finding all this crap here disturbs me. I closed the image and started the game up again, curious to see if I could play as Link, judging from the pictures. Once the game started, I went to the arcade mode and went to select Link. To my surprise, the game didn't crash. Link also came up as himself. Upon selecting him, he did his usual strike, but something was wrong with his voice too. It was muffled, but I could still make out what he said, and it sounded like help. My first fight was against Ivy. When it started, Ivy just started to move backwards, as if hoping to get away from Link. I still went ahead and attacked anyway. She of course fought back, but I was too good at the game to lose. Hours passed till I reached the final boss. The usual cutscene played, but instead of Inferno appearing, it was Link's shadow. Even being early graphics, I could see what I guessed was horror on Link's face. As soon as the match started, Link seemed to take control and back away from his doppelganger, like Ivy did. Link's shadow seemed to have Link's usual moveset, but he was faster and stronger. One strike just took 1/4 of my health away. I soon enough regained control of Link and countered the evil one. He took the usual amount of damage. I tried to block all of his attacks and attack when I saw an opening, but that didn't work. He was still too fast. After Link's shadow took down my last drop of health, he didn't stop. Even when the announcement of the match being over was announced, he just kept striking till the real Link fell to the ground. Soon enough, round 2 started. Link, again, tried to back away from the fight, but his opposite just kept coming, attacking with a relentless force. I tried to fight him off again, but I lost. This time, when he beat me, he didn't stop. This time, he ran Link through with his sword like 6 times before letting him fall to the ground. That's not part of his moveset, I thought to myself. The screen didn't fade to the game over screen though. Link's shadow looked up from his victim and right to me. I was honestly really fucking scared now, but this was just a game. No, a hack. That's the only explanation. My train of thought was cut off by someone speaking.
Are you scared?
It said. I looked around to see who it was, but then I turned back to my monitor to find Link's shadow staring at me, his whole face taking up the screen.
Are you scared?
He repeated. I hesitantly shook my head.
Are you sure?
He asked. I shook my head again. He smiled.
Are you having fun, Carter? Did you have fun beating everyone here senseless till it was your turn?
What the hell? I said, moving away from the keyboard.
Wasn't it fun?
What the hell do you want from me?
I just want to make sure you're having fun. You seem to like the game, so I just made it more fun for you.
This was getting disturbing. He flashed another grim smile at me. I quickly closed the game and deleted it. I deleted the image I saved too. I don't know what was wrong with the game, but if it was part of a sick joke, it wasn't funny. A few hours later, my friend logged back on. I quickly messaged him, demanding to know why he gave me something so sick. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Don't feed me that bullshit, I snapped. What did you do with this game? You sent this hacked piece of shit to scare me? Dude, I honestly have no idea what you mean. Are you talking about the Soul Calibur? Yes, the game knew my name and everything. Okay. Okay? Dude, that was just wrong. Okay, whatever. Look, I told you, I just found it on my laptop, okay? I deleted the game after I sent it to you, so I don't know what you're talking about. I wanted to say more, but he'd just think I was crazy. I logged out of Skype and shut off my computer. It was late again, so I figured I had to go to bed. That night, I could barely get a wink of sleep. I kept waking up from a bunch of nightmares, and they were all about that damn game. Each time, I was a different character, and I was beaten nearly to death by Link's shadow. Each time, he would laugh and hack at me with his sword till I woke myself up. This never ended. It's been 4 months since I played that game, and all my dreams are the same. They're all just full of Link's shadow murdering me, laughing, with those pure red eyes of his beaming into me. I've looked for help from psychiatrists and whatever other help I could afford. I don't know what's going to work. Ever since that damn game, I can't sleep, and now, I'm seeing Link's shadow everywhere I go. Like he's stalking me. Usually, shaking my head and closing my eyes work, and I realize it's just a hallucination. I think he's looking for me. I don't know why, but he seems bent on tormenting me. But it's hard to be sure anymore. So please, take this as a warning. Believe me or not, Soul Calibur 2 is evil. Even if you have an old copy, Link's shadow is there, and if you see him, he won't ever leave you alone. About a month ago, I bought a second Pokemon Red cartridge off eBay so I could start a new game and screw around without messing up my save file. As soon as I compared it to my old one, I knew it was either a bootleg or produced somewhere else. You can see in the picture how the sticker doesn't fit the front of the cartridge, and the red plastic is cheap and almost see-through. If you look close, you can see the internal battery, whereas the original you can't see through it at all. When I started it up, it only had one option, New Game, and unlike the well-loved cartridge I'd been using, it didn't have any wear marks from being inserted into the Game Boy Color or anything indicating it had been used. Well, what the hell, I figured. I'd poured plenty of money into the franchise and one bootlegged game wasn't going to kill me. I popped it into my Game Boy Color, and started playing. A couple of weeks ago, I lost my Game Boy Color for a while, so I had to play it on my Game Boy Advance SP. No huge deal, I thought. When I started the game up, oddly enough, the backlight screen of my SP went out, like I was playing an old Game Boy Advance or a Color. I thought that was pretty weird, considering the lower setting of my SP's screen was brighter than the high setting on all my friends' SPs, as I took good care of it, and it was unlikely that the backlight would be going anytime soon. But as soon as I switched to playing Sapphire, the screen lit back up. I had played my other Red on this SP plenty, and it never dimmed for an old Game Boy game, so I just attributed the game to itself being poorly made, which makes no fucking sense, I know. About now, you're probably wondering when I'm going to start telling you about how there were unknown in my party and the buried alive guy in Lavender Town started eating my player character, because any pre-owned bootleg game story is bound to be some creepy, hacked piece of shit. Well, it isn't that simple. I played through Lavender Town, the Pokemon Tower, all of that, and nothing unusual happened. I didn't go mad from the music and feel suicidal. My Pokemon never turned white and started crying tears of blood or anything like that. However, as I continued playing, it became apparent to me that this game had some glitches. Just like the cheap plastic casing and sticker that barely stuck, the game itself was flaky. I've never played Pokemon on an emulator before, but if I had to guess, I would say that when it was copied, a lot of the data was corrupted, and I had to be careful when playing it or it would freeze. For example, sometimes the graphics around the player, I'm going to call him Red as that's what I named him, would turn into big colored bars, and the game would stop, and the background music would stop on whatever note it had hit and play this high-pitched staticky whine until I restarted. This happened whenever I tried to get on my bike inside of a cave or building. I was almost sure this was just a normal bootlegged game until I examined the SNES in the Celadon department store. Don't judge me, but being a Red fanboy, I've always liked when the game said things from Red's point of view, like how he says, "Dad would like this," when you examine the SNES, or "I should get going," when you examine the TV, since you never get to see the player saying anything, to the point where, as a joke, the developers made Red say nothing more than ellipses when you encountered him. Anyway, when I examined the SNES, where Red would normally say, "Dad would like this," instead I saw the text, "Where is Dad?" I examined it again, and same thing. I kind of laughed it off, thinking for some reason it was a poor translation. In the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping for a hack game because, hey, if I got some screen caps and posted them on 4chan, I'd be able to at least kill an afternoon laughing about it. I went to the next floor, then went back down and checked the NES again. To my surprise, the message had changed. Now, Red said, "Who created me?" At this point, I was pretty sure this had been added in by some hacker, and I thought that was kind of awesome. Hell, Red finding out he was just a video game character? That's pretty funny. After that, and after failing to find any other added-in dialogue, I continued on in the game's story. At that point, I was about near the part where you surf to Cinnabar and the Seafoam Islands, but the glitching was getting worse. Sometimes, the map would get distorted, like Glitch City, and Red would be surfing on a tree or a house or something, and I couldn't move. I had to fly out and try again. As a kid, I always liked doing Missing No and Glitch City, and I had a Game Shark back in the day, so the glitches were kind of cool. Eventually, I made it to Cinnabar. Now, being an avid glitcher way back when, of course the first thing I did was fly back to Viridian and do the old man trick. But no matter how many times I tried, I could never get Missing No to appear. I thought maybe the ROM had been edited to prevent glitching, but that clearly wasn't the case, as the thing had more bugs than the fucking Viridian Forest. Instead, when I entered the Pokemon Mansion, I was greeted by the following text window.
Nice try, Red.
It was obvious that where red was would be the name of whatever you named your player. What freaked me out was that red was in all caps as the speaker. At this point, I know I had to have had an edited game. The fucking player character was telling me nice try after I'd failed to do a missing no. The game froze then and I restarted. I hadn't saved since before I tried the missing no glitch, but when I turned the game on again, I was back in the mansion, exactly where the window had popped up. I could move again, so I went ahead and played through the mansion. Call me a pussy, but despite my excitement, I was scared. So I played slowly and with all the lights on. I was still playing on my SP, and the internal light still didn't work, so I used that as justification for being a massive pussy. Things only got weirder. After I left the mansion, I got a message. Ding dong, time's up. Your safari game is over. Having done Glitch City in the past, I knew this happened whenever you flew out of the safari zone. As expected, I was outside the safari zone gate at the next time I hit A with the attendants asking me if I got a good haul. I had an immense feeling of foreboding when I went to leave the gate, scared I'd be in Glitch City or even worse. I had a flyer, but you have to understand, this is all a little unnerving. Instead, I was in Pallet Town, but there was no music. Nothing. Another text window appeared. This isn't where I'm from. I've been lied to. I couldn't move after that, so I went to reset, but something stopped me. Instead, I opened the start menu and went to fly the hell out of there, but to my horror, the Pidgeon I used for fly wasn't there, just my Blastoise, Executor Kadabra, Mew, and Kangaskhan. In Pidgeot's place was a level 16 Raticate with 1 HP. It was poisoned. I checked its stats, and it had the OT Blue and new Hyper Beam, Quick Attack, Glare, and Skull Bash. I don't even know if Raticate can learn all these moves. I've since heard that Gary's Raticate died in the game, but I had named Gary Douche in this game for a few laughs. I guess the OT name Blue came from the fact that blue is the opposite to red version, like maybe it was supposed to have come from a blue cartridge? I know Rattata doesn't evolve until level 20, so this was a pretty obvious hack. I had some antidotes and potions in my bag, so I figured, what the hell, I'd heal it, but when I left the Pokemon menu, the entire start menu closed, and I couldn't open it again. I tried walking, and this time I was able to move. I took a few steps, forgetting about the poison until a box popped up again.
We killed it.
At this point, I was getting a little freaked out. I went to my party and Raticate wasn't there at all. Neither was my Pidgeot. The slot was empty. I closed the menu and tried to move again, but nothing. I didn't want to turn the game off in case it had somehow saved again, so I just kept trying to move, before remembering that my Kadabra still knew teleport. When I hit start, nothing happened. I kept trying to move, but I couldn't move. No, Red wasn't letting me.
This happened to me. Why?
At that point, I just shut the game off. I took the hacked Red version out and put in Fire Red. Like with my old game, I'd named the player Red, and for some reason, it still kind of scared me. I started it up, and to my horror, the screen was still dimmed. I hit continue on the main menu, but when I tried to open my game, I got the message saying that my save data had been lost or corrupted. And when I started, the game froze, with the music just being a staticky whine. At this point, I was really desperate to play some Pokemon where no weird shit was going on, and I was pissed that my Fire Red version was broken, so I threw in Sapphire and started it up. The screen lit up normally. I thought for a moment that maybe something was wrong with my SP that broke my Fire Red, and I didn't want that happening to my Sapphire with Jirachi from Colosseum and the Feebas it had taken me an hour to find, so I shut it off and pulled it out. I started playing what I call Glitchy Red version again about a week ago. When I started it back up, I was still in Pallet Town, There was music, and things seemed normal, except for the empty slot in my party and my SP screen no longer lighting up. I biked to Viridian and found Pidgeot safely in my PC, so I figured, what the hell, and took it out and flew to Cinnabar to fight Blaine. When I went to unlock the gym, surprise, another text box.
No.
No matter how many times I tried, the game refused to believe I had the fucking secret key, despite it being right there in my bag. Red wasn't letting me in.
Everything that happened to me happened because the world let it happen to me. I didn't become a hero on my own. I was manipulated. I never unlocked that door. The door was unlocked because the game let me in. Everything you do because the game lets you.
Because of how the boxes were, it took a really long time to scroll through, and the whole time I was writing down what he was saying, so I had it on reference. Things were getting a little too Silent Hill for me, and once again, I tried to move, but Red wouldn't let me.
I'm going to show you how it feels to be unable to choose your own fate.
I gave up and opened the start menu again, glad that I could, and used Pidgeot to fly out of there. I knew now that this was only because Red was letting me fly out. He was toying with me. I flew to Lavender because, shockingly enough, there was nothing weird ever happening there. From Lavender, I walked down to try and go to Fuchsia, but as soon as I left Lavender, Red was at it again.
No.
Well, fuck, I thought. I opened the menu and flew to Fuchsia. When I got there, I nearly shat my pants and dropped my SP. It was the glitch city you get when you surf along Cinnabar's coast. Immediately, the menu popped up the way it does when you do the Mew glitch, and it was asking me to save the game. There was no option for no, and pressing B did nothing. I shut my game off. When I started it back up, I was still in Glitch City. I checked my party the way Red wanted me to. Pidgeot and Kadabra were there. But instead of teleport and fly appearing when I selected them, there was only cursed. Not curse as in a command, but it was past tense, cursed. I was smart enough to not select it. I hit B until I was out of the menu, and Red was telling me shit again.
You're staying here with me, Red. They replaced me because I was glitched and not good enough. I thought this was my story, but I'm just a character in a video game. They took everything from me. My voice, my freedom, my legacy. They replaced me with the brown-eyed kid.
I understood now that he meant Fire Red version and the Gold, Silver, and Crystal versions where he'd been demoted to Final Boss. He let me move, and to my surprise, the game never froze, even as I was walking on water and stepping into houses. Eventually, I suppose I went too far, because the screen turned black around my player.
Am I a joke to you?
A yes-no option popped up. I can't tell you how fast I hit no.
Then why do you do these things to me? Why do you corrupt my world and show me glitches that aren't meant to be? Why do you want to hurt me with missing no?
I never wanted to hurt Red, it was just for fun. The game had bugs and we've all just exploited them for fun, right?
Why did I have to die? Just because I'm a hero?
I shut my game off. That night, I had a dream where I was a Pokemon trainer, the player from Fire Red, who I will never again think of as Red. I was being chased by a white pale body. While I can't feel pain in my dreams, the pale figure eventually caught me and ripped at my chest and sides with his nails. The last thing I saw before I woke up was the face of my attacker, a little boy with bright red eyes, black hair, and a red and white hat. For the next few days, when I played, it was because I had to. I was trapped in the blackness because Red refused to let me go. because he was forsaken and forgotten, left to just be abused by players who come back out of nostalgia to exploit the bugs. Because I played so much, I almost always had a headache from the high-pitched noises the game makes. I had to call out of work sick. I could never move, but I found comfort in staring at the screen with the black background in my player. Red didn't say anything to me. I couldn't play Fire Red again, even though it worked on my DS. Yesterday, I finally got to Mount Silver on Hard Gold, and I couldn't bring myself to battle Red. I don't know what he'd do to me if I beat his replacement. Would he be angry? Happy? Would his defeat put his spirit to rest? I don't know. No matter how many times I played through the games, Red will suffer the same fate. Because he is a hero, and because the game let him only go so far. Red will never again be able to experience the glory of being the hero, and neither will we. No matter how many times you start a new game, it will never be the same as the first time you played. You know what's going to happen, and you play for nostalgia, because it's just a game to you now. I killed Red, and so did you. Unlike Ash Ketchum, he's never going to be the hero of another new game in a brand new region. In Heart Gold, Gold's successor, Ethan had even taken his accomplishments from him, being the one to catch the Pokemon Red had fought so hard for. Mewtwo, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. His life is over for him. He became such a legend that there was nothing left of him to even be proud of himself. I finished Glitchy Red yesterday when I finally checked my trainer card. There was a sprite of Red as he appeared in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, but in the game's same monochrome color scheme, just red and green. When I looked closer, the red pixels making up his shirt looked darker and arranged oddly, almost like he was bleeding from the chest. None of my badges or time played or trainer ID, just that sprite. When I returned to the menu, instead of my name appearing as Red, there was the word Gone for my trainer card. I selected it, and this time, the card was blank.
Go ahead and forget me now. Goodbye.
The game reset the way it does after you beat the champion, and this time, there was only one option. New game. I found my Game Boy Color earlier today and started playing it on there. When I played on the SP, the screen lit up and everything was normal. I had to start a new game on my Fire Red, but it's working again. Even the bootleg's Red version plays normally. No glitches. But I can never see Red Silence the same ever again, or even the hilarious Missing No, and Glitch City bugs. I have a much deeper respect for the silent protagonists in the game, for all we put them through. Lavender Town used to creep me out, but now I find it very peaceful, as even Red, who wanted revenge on a world that had treated him horribly, could never mess with the resting place of fallen Pokemon. Someday, I hope I stop waking up with scratches on my torso.